Welcome to Savor the Story podcast, where books and snacks are life. I'm Nicole. This is Vanessa.
Hello.
Hello.
Did you almost forget our intro?
Maybe. It was, I don't think it was a forget. It was just like a deep comma.
Oh, gotcha.
Many commas. Like pause,
Okay.
pause for effect. So.
Okay. I accept this.
All right. Thank you. So. Yep. So I know we've been already chatting a little bit, but I feel like it's been a really long week.
It really has.
And it's not even a full week in recording for us. I don't feel like. So like in addition to having less days, they just feel longer.
I literally saw you this week and we recorded this week. And it feels like I haven't seen or talked to you in like 12 days.
I know. I
don't understand this.
It's been so weird.
Yes. It's just one of those weeks where it's like heightened emotion, heightened like everything's going on, like we're doing a lot of things and stuff. So I feel like all of that just makes it all like, it's been 4 months.
I know.
And it's been 3 days.
I know. It should not feel like this, but
no.
Man, and like I said, I like emotionally have a lot going on. I was outside all day today, so like the wind is giving me sensitive sun or windburn face, so my face hurts, my heart hurts, my head hurts. I'm like, I don't know, my emotions hurt. I'm like,
everything.
I am not mentally ready for this day. Hence the many pauses in the intro.
Great. This makes for a great episode. I hope you guys are ready.
Yes. I'm totally upbeat.
Yes. That's funny. Well, I mean, I have a lot of things to tell you today.
All right, do it.
Well, I don't know if we want to start there. We can if you want to, but I have some. Okay, listen. I have been in a hole of Onyx Storm spoilers or theories and like all the things. Oh my god, that's all I've been doing.
Oh my gosh. Have you read any books, or are these going to be your saving books because you've done all Onyx Storm?
Okay, listen. So I was actually going to talk about that. This week is the perfect example as to why I hold books away, because I didn't finish a book. I didn't start a book. I didn't read any books this week. I didn't listen. I didn't read. I didn't do anything. So, but I do have 2 books to talk about.
Yes.
But they are not from this week because I just wasn't there. I didn't feel like it. I didn't want to read this week. And also, I was just deep diving everything. And because Rebecca Yarros is on tour right now, there's so many videos of her like tour questions and answers and like all that kind of stuff all over the internet. So it's all I've been doing. So do you want to hear things right now? Or do you want to do other things first?
I know when I saw you told me that you had a theory correction. Is that the right word? So
yeah.
Let's start there.
There will be Onyx Storm spoilers in this conversation. So if you have not finished Onyx Storm, please skip forward. I will put it in the description of the timestamps of where spoilers are. So move forward. Forward. Okay, we'll start. Okay. So my first correction is last week I said something about Violet potentially kind of having all of the power. And in one of the interviews that I saw online of this week of Rebecca like answering questions and stuff like that, she said that she really, really is against heroines in books having all power and like just being unstoppable. So I was like, okay, I accept this. I like that you don't like that. So I'm going to resend that part of my theory, but I am absolutely keeping the theory that Violet's second signet is not just dreamwalking. I am holding true to that. It is bigger than just dreams. I think it's mind walking. I think it's like something different. So I will based on her comment, change that part of my theory. So there is that. Another theory that I talked about last week was her being pregnant. And another interview that I saw of Rebecca's makes me feel like I am not going to have to quit this series.
Way to go. Way to go, Rebecca.
Yes. So she never said anything specific, because people were thinking, it's been mentioned in either Fourth Wing or Iron Flame, I can't remember, that either both Violet and Xaden or just Violet is on this like tonic that's like a birth control type tonic. And so everybody's theories was that because in Onyx Storm they visit these isles that don't have magic, that all of a sudden the tonic becomes like not whatever
non-functional.
Yeah. And so that was a question that was asked, and the question that was posed to Rebecca was, is the tonic based in magic or is it medicinal? And she said it is 100% medicinal. So no matter where you are, that tonic is going to work. And she is also very, very clear about consent being given in any situation of what your wishes are. And she's like, they've already had a conversation about like not wanting this to be a thing, like either not wanting kids or like not wanting them yet or whatever it is. And she's like, so there would have had to been another conversation of them to have to say that they are willing to now have that. So she's like, something would have had to be consenting on both sides for this to have happened. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say she's not going to make Violet pregnant, at least not in book 4. So we're happy with this new theory.
We'll have to keep an ear out in case.
Yes. And then this kind of goes back to Violet being all powerful. How I said, I think I told you that she was able to wield lightning when they were on one of the non-magic islands or isles. And so because I now know that she's not going to be all powerful, the new theory is that her Andarna has way more power than the other dragons do. And it's the only reason that Violet is the only writer who was still able to speak in her mind to dragons. Like no other writer was able to talk to their dragons while they were out on these isles except for Violet. And I think it's Andarna is the answer to that.
I got you.
So that's my theory. And so one last thing, and then we're done with Onyx Storm right now. And I only want to bring this up because you had said, what if there's a theory? Like, what happens if Andarna gets a mate, right? And in, one of Rebecca's interviews, a question was asked, and she said, I hate love triangles. I hate them.
Yes.
So I do not think we will see a situation where there's a love triangle with Violet and Xaden and Darna's mate or anything like that. I don't think we're going to have any of that. So
nice.
Yes.
Well, I don't mind being wrong on this one. So
yes, exactly. Me neither. I don't want that. I don't want a love triangle. So yeah, I've just been deep diving and listening to all of her interviews and questions and like all the kind of stuff. So more theories are starting to come out as she's answering questions. People are like, oh well, dang it, now this one is gone, and what about this one? And it's been a great time.
Nice.
So yeah, that's all my Onyx Storm stuff.
Well, that's cool. Plus, sometimes it's nice to just have like a mental break from like reading or just like, and I mean, what better way? You're still technically doing reading things because you're, it's about books, but yeah, it's just not like I have to finish this book or I have to start a new book or whatever. It's just like a good way to like reset the week. And then you go on vacation and
I think I mentioned this to you a couple episodes ago when we were talking about how I was like holding books back, and I told you I wasn't sure how I was going to feel after I read Onyx Storm. And this is exactly what happened. Is I got sucked into the world, trying to figure out like how I feel about it and like all the theories and all the things. And it's just put me in a place where like I literally don't care about any other book right now. Like there's no like summary that I've read that's like, ooh, yes, that sounds good. Everything is just like, this is not the Empyrean series.
Where are my dragons?
Yes, exactly. So that's I know myself well enough to know that happens. So yeah, that's that. That's been my whole week. So tell me about your week.
Man, I was with you for half of it.
I know.
So. Yeah, I came down, like I said, going to a couple people that we both know from work, going to their going away parties. So we got to hang out. And weirdly enough, it also worked out that we were able to watch Breaking Dawn Part 1.
I know. It was like perfect timing.
I know. You were like, we have 2 hours before we need to leave. And Breaking Dawn Part 1 is an hour and 50 minutes. We're like, quick, downstairs now, quick.
Start it.
Start the movie. So we got to watch that, which was cool because I think I had literally finished it like 10 minutes before we watched it.
Yes.
So it was all still fresh.
Yeah.
But yeah. But after that, I came back home and didn't really do anything besides work. And then, we went to, I know I sent you a picture of like we went out to eat dinner one night. And we went to this place, I think it's called the Fed, but anyway, it has like windows, for lack of better terms, windows in the floor, so you could see down into like an underground bar.
That's really cool.
And then like there's like a bar in the basement, and then like they have like an old bank vault that they had the door open, and the inside the bank vault was like a seating area where you could like, there's like one table in it, so it's like for a bigger party. I tried to get pictures all night. I sat there and creepily stared at the vault because I was like, can I? But it was just like the same couple, like 3 or 4 people like having drinks, and they didn't get up the whole time we were there. So I was like, man, I cannot take a picture of these people. They're sitting right in front of the door. So
you said one table in the vault, and then I pictured in my mind like a little 2-seater table where it was like a massive vault, and there's just like one little table.
So private. Yes. Yeah. I walked by just to be like, what's going on in there? And I think there was people there, and I think there was like 8 people sitting at the table.
Oh, okay.
It was pretty cool. It looked like it used to be an old bank or something, and then they converted it in. I mean, it was fine. The food was okay, and the drink was good. Drink was for high octane.
Oh,
so,
right. Yes.
Yeah. If that's your thing, this place is pretty good for you. But I wasn't there to drink to get wasted. Like they had like a whole bunch of like specialty drinks, and I was like, oh man, I love drinks for flavor. And then it was just like alcohol burn. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess I don't need this. So I think I drank one, and I ordered a different one, and then I ended up not drinking it because it was just not very good.
Anything, so I'm gonna guess that nothing there is your snack this week.
No.
Yeah.
I had so many, so like I was like, oh, this is totally gonna be my snack. And then what was it yesterday? One of my coworkers went and got crumble. So which this week it was cookies and cream, which were garbage.
Oh, great.
Confetti cake, which was garbage. Macadamia nut, garbage. Lemon
Really?
poppy seed. Oh yeah, lemon poppy seed ultra garbage.
No.
I know it tasted like lemon Play-Doh.
No, I love lemon poppy seed. I do not love lemon Play-Doh.
Yeah. Yeah, I was really excited for that cookie.
Dang
and then I
it.
ate it and I was like, something is off. And then I like had like another person tried a bite and they were like, whoa, something's not right here. And then also banana bread cookie,
Mm-hmm.
amazeballs.
Was it more bread than cookie?
No, it was more cookie.
More cookie? Okay.
And it was like, I don't know how to explain. The cookie was good. It was like a cinnamon cookie almost.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the tail end, you got actual, it wasn't fake, fake banana, imitation banana. It was like actual banana. And I was like, fuck yes, this is delicious.
Nice. Okay.
And then strawberry shortcake, which chef's kiss, also amazing.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So, man, I'm sorry, you guys. It's been 2 weeks and those flavors don't exist there anymore. But keep an eye out for banana bread cookie and strawberry shortcake.
Yeah, they do recycle them. They'll probably show up again in a few months or so. Excellent. Well, that's good to know because when I looked at, I have a widget on my phone where it shows what the cookies are that week. So every Monday, I usually check what the cookies are.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Oh, shit. I'm going to have to look this up.
Oh, you know what? It might be blank right now because, oh, no. Let me see if I can show it to you. It's at the top. It's a widget. And it shows
oh my
me what the cookies are.
That's so cute. That's awesome.
So
I'm going to have to...
I'm surprised it's not blank right now because I think it usually doesn't it recycle on Mondays or something, and I feel like usually Sunday night it goes blank and it's like come back tomorrow or something. But I always check the widget at some point in the week to see what are the cookies this week.
I think I'm gonna have to check that out, and I can't wait to go back to work and be like, I'm so cool. Look at I know the cookies at all time.
Yes,
but. Yeah, but none of those cookies were my cookies or my snacks this week. I know.
Okay.
I was like, up until like yesterday. So up until like this morning, they were all the strawberry shortcake or the banana bread cookie were going to be my snack. But, for dinner tonight, I had Tres Leches Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and fuck, man, it is so good.
That's what you had for dinner?
That's what I had for dinner.
Okay.
Mike was heating up leftovers because I made like a bunch of leftovers because I'm going to be gone next week. So I made a whole bunch of food so he would have leftovers this week to heat up. And he was like, I think I'm just going to have leftovers tonight. And I was like, I think I'm just going to have Cinnamon Toast Crunch for dinner. Like, fuck it. Like, whatever. So
excellent
I did.
Choice.
And it was delicious.
Great.
And I'm happy to report that it is also my snack.
Okay, good. You had so many snacks this week.
I know. Sometimes I'm like, why am I talking about all this food that I'm not going to use as my snack? But
well, you have to report that you had crumble.
I know.
So I accept.
I don't
this.
even care.
No.
No fucks given.
No, you shouldn't. I had Tim went out last night, so I ordered food on DoorDash and I got Chewy's. Ooh. And they have Tres Leches cake.
Oh yes,
and I tried it. It was okay. It's definitely not Nicole level Tres Leches.
Yes, that's right.
But it hit the spot a little bit. But I've decided I'm not going to use that as my snack because it was just all right. I'm going to go a little, it sounds boring, but it's not boring. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So my mother-in-law taught me this snack. It's like a low calorie, just like sweet snack. Okay. So you, it's grapes and then you take, you get them like wash them or whatever, and you leave them a little damp, and then you pour Jell-O, like the Jell-O packet in there, and you shake it all up or whatever, and then you freeze them, and it's so good.
I'm gonna
Yes.
I need a pen.
I'll text it to you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'll text it to you. So I usually do, she always does like the sugar-free one because then it makes it even like a little healthier. I don't care about that part of it. Sugar is not my problem. So I really like, I buy the purple grapes with raspberry jello stuff on them. Oh my god, they're so good. And so usually I just have like a little baby bowl of just frozen. I feel like it's the perfect way to get some sweetness in and like some cold, like if you're in the mood for like ice cream or something, but you're trying to stay good with your calories, this is the way to go. So
that's awesome. That
1,000% recommend. Yeah. So Jello grapes is my snack this week, which is a weird way to say it, but
I don't even care. That sounds awesome.
It's so good.
Man,
yes.
I'm gonna have to try that next week.
Okay.
It's happening. I'm gonna remember.
Yes. I'll text it to you. Okay, before we get into books, I'm sorry, book reviews, can I tell you 2 book things?
Yes.
And then you can tell me all about your books.
Oh, okay. Fair.
So my first book thing is, I forgot to mention this week, Fairy Loot put out an Onyx Storm version.
Oh, yeah.
The Fairy Loot version. And what an endeavor that was.
Yes. Yes, I was there while you're trying to get it. Tell us about that.
So first I got the email. Literally like 6 minutes after I got the email, I clicked the link to go get it, and I was 2 hours. It said your queue time is 2 hours, and I was like, great. So I was like trying to keep my phone alive, like whatever. It dropped down. By the time I was on my way home from work, it was at 50 minutes. And then I got home from work and I got distracted and my phone went to sleep. And when I opened it back up, it reset me to 2 hours. Oh my god, it was crazy. So then we went to lunch with our going away lunch with our coworker people, and so the whole time we're sitting at lunch, I'm just like sitting there keeping my phone alive. Well, I'm happy to report that after like 4.5 hours, I bought one.
Yay! Yes, that's awesome.
So I think that it was like a pre-order. I think they ship out in a few months or something. So I don't exactly know when I'm going to get it, but I'll let you know when I do. And I just bought it because I really liked the actual book, like the hardcover book has detail to it. And so that was exciting to me. So I got that. And then my second book news is this week, the second Quicksilver book was announced. So it is officially titled Brimstone, and it is officially going to release on November 18th. So nice. Yes, so I will be reading that book. Okay, the end. That is all of my news now.
Your news reminded me I have news.
Tell me.
It is also news for you.
Okay.
Because as soon as I say it, you're going to be like, oh yeah, I knew that.
Okay.
But in release timeline, do you know what comes out this week?
Yes, I do. Rebel Witch comes out this week.
Yes, it is. Yes. So Rebel Witch comes out this week. So I'm excited for that. Yeah. That is probably going to be a book that I read right away.
Yes, 100%.
So
we'll have to plan. Maybe we'll both read it the first week so then we can talk about it in the next episode.
That makes sense.
So we're not like so we're not staggered of like 2 weeks in a row.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Let's do that.
Excellent.
Yes. Okay,
all
fine.
right.
I will wait a couple days if we need to sync our timelines for reading the book.
I'll read it that week.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah, well, then I'm going to read it probably release day. I'm not going to take the day off like I did for Onyx Storm, but I will read it the week it comes out.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, you go. Okay. Tell me.
All right. Well, I have 3 books this week.
Okay.
One of them is Breaking Dawn. which I will not talk about here
No.
because we're going to speak of that in bonus bites, whatever number
4.
we're on now. 4.
And it came out yesterday. Well, in recording time, it came out yesterday.
In recording time, Breaking Dawn 1 came out yesterday, but I finished the whole book.
Right, yeah.
So Breaking
That'll
Dawn
come
2
out in
will come
2
out
weeks.
In 2 weeks, so years. Time hurts my head. So anyway, but besides those 2 books, I finished 2 other books, and I feel like I probably could have finished a 4th if I would have. Maybe I'll start with that book because it makes more sense now that I've started like this. But I read a book or I listened to a book and I liked it so much that I was like, I'm going to start the second book immediately. Okay. And then I stopped myself because I was like, I cannot have 2 books of the same series in the same week. But now that I'm really thinking it out
for yourself.
I know. Well, so I was like, oh, whatever, I'll just save it and I'll go to, and like, it'll give me another book to talk about in like another couple weeks. But then I looked it up. So this book is called Rivers of London.
Okay.
In the US, it's called Midnight Riot.
Oh, it's got different titles?
Yeah.
Okay.
I read it as Rivers of London, so I don't know if it was the UK release that I listened to, but there are 9 books in the series. Okay. The 10th book comes out in I think May. Okay. And in addition to all of these, there are a shit ton of mini stories.
Oh no.
Like 1.5, 0.5, 0.6, 0.66. Like,
good gracious.
A lot. Yeah.
Why is that? That's not necessary.
I don't know. I'm already saying up front, unless something crazy happens that I'm not aware of for this book series, I will not be reading all of the digits. So I will just I will just be reading the main story arc. Okay. And I will, warning everybody, I will be probably reading all 10. Unless they get crappy. But I looked, and the Goodreads ratings get better as the book series goes on. So I'm like, oh, shit. Sorry, guys. This is going to be like 2 months if you haven't listened to me talk about this series.
Now I need to start my JLA series so then I have a 10-book series going on at the same time that you have a 10-book series going on.
I know. When we did our beginning of the year thing, you were like, I'm going to start my 10-book series. And I was like, you're crazy. Here we are. We're both doing 10-book series.
Yes.
So, all right. Okay. So, like I said, Rivers of London, depending on where you are, could also be Midnight Riot. This is by Ben Aaronovitch. Okay. I listened to this. It was an Audio Plus, or Audible Plus. And I would consider it fantasy. Definitely fantasy. I don't know. I would consider it. It is fantasy. Okay. All right. So Constable Peter Grant has just seen a ghost. Okay. But before Peter can wrap his brain around the fact that he's seeing a ghost, his police work training kicks in and he's like taking quotes from this guy and he's doing his like due diligence and he finds out that this ghost is actually a witness to a murder that he is like helping investigate. Okay. So,
and he knows it's a ghost when he's talking to him?
Well, at first he doesn't. Okay. But as time goes up, like he sees it and he's like, oh, there's something weird here. And as he's taking like a statement, he's like, something is not right. And then he finds out by the end that this guy's a ghost. And he's like, what? So anyway, fast forward a couple of days and Peter's ability to speak with ghosts brings him to the attention of London, a sector of London police that deals with magic and other things uncanny.
Okay. I feel like I have so many questions. Okay,
I know. Keep going. Okay, so anyway, this takes Peter on a new road in his work.
Okay.
where he thought he was going to be going into a really boring part of like police work.
Mhm.
He actually gets picked up by this mysterious and supernatural group,
Mhm.
and so he's out there learning learning the ropes, learning his new gig, but poor Peter, he needs to learn quick because as he's learning all this, the death count is stacking
Oh no.
very quickly. A lot of
Okay.
people die in this book.
Great. Okay.
So
Are
before
they
I go
people
into my
you know, or is it just
No.
like you're just like, oh, here's a murder. Oh, here's a murder.
Yes, it's just
Okay.
like murder, 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 murder. I was
Oh
like,
my
holy
goodness.
crap.
Okay.
There's a lot of murder. Before I go on, you have
Mhm.
anything you want to ask? Any questions? Clarifying questions.
I want to know, did he know that he could talk to ghosts before he talked to
Nope.
this witness? Okay.
No.
So it was just like a random.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was really, I mean, I thought it was funny how it happened. So he does this, he like talks to this ghost, and then he's talking to a friend that he works with, and she's like, well, why don't you go and prove it? Go find the ghost, and now that you've looked, like, ask him the question, like, double check your facts against what we've seen in the
Okay.
stuff, you know, like see if the ghost knows or whatever. And he's like, I will do that. So he goes back a second night because he's looking for this ghost,
Uh-huh.
and this guy comes up to him and he's like, what are you doing? And Peter's like, looking for a ghost. And the guy's like, did you find him? And he was like, well, I haven't seen him since yesterday. And the guy's like, that sounds about right for ghosts.
Okay.
And they get talking, and he's like, oh, I'm Chief Inspector Nightingale of like blah blah. And he's like, ah, fuck. I just told a chief inspector of police that I was out looking for ghosts in the middle of the night.
No.
I'm gonna get fired.
Yeah.
And so then the next day he comes in, and all of a sudden he's now on this like mysterious, uncanny, like magical sector of the London police. And guess who is his boss? Chief Inspector Nightingale.
So he believed him. If he's if he knows that there's a whole sector of this, like of the department that whatever. Okay, great. I love that for him.
Yes. So it was that part was super cute.
Yeah.
All right. So my thoughts on this book. First, I'm gonna go through the triggers. There's kind of a lot of them.
Okay.
Some of them more than others. Like I said, there is a lot of murder in this book, and also some of the murder scenes are described pretty graphically. If you're not into that, like they describe how the body looks, like what happened. There's like a what's that person that like looks at the body afterward? A coroner. There's a coroner that's in the book, and he describes stuff. So there's a lot of that. Obviously, violence, some racist language, and sexism. Not as much of the last two than the others, but there is one. I know I texted you about this. There is one scene in this book that is kind of more jarring than others if you're not expecting it. And it is a very small child is murdered, very horrifically murdered. If you are not into that, there is one part of the book that is,
I feel
it
like
does
even
talk about it
as a so it's funny that yours also has some like true crime elements, because one of the ones that I'm going to talk about is also true crime elements. And if you're in the true crime world at all, I feel like anything involving children is always like just a step. Like it's weird how I can listen to 100 hours of people talking about murder, but as soon as you throw in some sort of child element to it, it's like, oh shit. Like I don't know if I can listen, or I don't know, whatever. So I feel like it just kind of depends on what your tolerance level is. So yeah,
like I said, it's the one scene of the book, and after that scene though, they don't really bring it up anymore. So but there isn't really a good way to like prep yourself for it. Like it's not like they're like, we're gonna walk up here and this is we're gonna see this. So But yeah, so if you can get over those triggers, the book is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I loved the book. The narrator, I should say, I love the book. The narrator is amazing.
Okay.
His name, I even wrote down his name because I liked him so much.
Okay.
And I'm gonna mess it up a little bit, but it's Kobna Holbrook Smith.
Okay.
And he has a phenomenal voice. And when he's doing his English accent, he sounds exactly like Jude Law.
Oh, that's right. You did show me him.
Yeah, exactly like Jude Law. I was like, what is going on right now?
Hello, Jude?
Yeah, Jude. But like I said, the storyline was pretty good. It wasn't like a crazy wild storyline. Like, it was just a good pace. There's just enough mystery that I wasn't looking for who the villain was.
Okay.
And once we got to the part where they're like, reveal who the villain is, I was like, oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
Now that you say that,
yeah.
I did kind of have like but it was also with like a little bit of a twist. Okay. So that was nice.
Does the rest of the series follow Mr. Ghost Whisperer?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I don't know if it's giving away part of the book or not. Maybe it's a mild spoiler. So I guess maybe skip. But he also becomes like an apprentice. So the chief inspector or Nightingale is a wizard, if you want to say that. And he takes Peter as a apprentice. Okay. So I think the rest of the books are him following through his apprenticeship. So okay. But like I said, I love the book. I think it's actually going to be a TV series.
Fun.
Yeah, I don't know.
It sounds like a fun one.
Yeah, I don't know anything about the TV series. I saw it mentioned briefly on the internet, and that it was in November they said that, but there was like nothing else after that said like, this is who's picking it up. Okay. These are, any like, this is where you can watch or anything like that. So, yeah, it was still a great book, and I am not usually a fan of mysteries. So I was kind of surprised that I enjoyed it so much, and I will be, when I travel next week, I will be listening to the second book on the plane. Yes. I'm very excited for that. Yes. So I rated this book a 5.
Yay!
Rounded up to a 5. But it was still great. It was a great book. And this one is actually the worst rated book out of all of them, I think. So
So you're rounding up. So is this not a true 5 for you? It's
not a true 5, but it's higher than a 4.5. So I'm just going to round it up to 5. Okay. The second book is Grimm Curiosities by Sharon Lynn Fisher. I struggled to remember how I took in this book. At first I was like, oh, it was a Kindle book. And then I was like, no, maybe it was an audiobook. And then I was like, no, definitely a Kindle book.
How did you forget?
I don't know.
Okay. It's been one of those weeks.
Yeah.
All right.
So I think what happened is I started it as an audiobook. Okay. And then I realized that it was also Kindle Unlimited because it was Audible Plus. And then I was like, oh, it's Kindle Unlimited. So I started it, and then I was like, I just want to finish the book as fast as I can. So I started reading it on Kindle. And then I realized that I have a physical copy on my bookshelf.
Oh my goodness.
See, this is why I was confused.
You're like, somehow it just like absorbed into my brain. How it got there, nobody knows.
I don't know.
Okay, great.
No clue. But this one was also a fantasy. And all right, so it's 1851 in York, England. And Lizzie Grimm lives with her mother above their it's like an antique shop, but they also sell like curiosities. But things are not going great for Lizzie. Poor Lizzie. Her father has recently passed away. Her mother, who was her mother was recently struck mute and unresponsive during an accident where she was speaking with ghosts.
Okay.
So
great.
She was having like a seance kind of thing, and all of a sudden she became unresponsive, went mute. She doesn't talk. She just kind of exists.
What a wild reaction.
Yeah. And then on top of that, because now her mother is not able to help her, her father is not able to help her, they are quickly running out of money and are not able to sustain their lifestyle, their shop, anything like that. So, in steps two gentlemen, and they are both enthusiastic to help her. One has a sister who shares a similar affliction to Lizzie's mother.
All right.
And then the other one starts out, his interests start because he comes to the shop and he buys some books, and they find out that they have similar interests. So yeah, in between spending time with both gentlemen, Lizzie uncovers secrets about her father and the shop that may lead to dangerous places. But in addition to that, she's also not sure which of the gentlemen she can trust with her secrets.
Okay.
Who can help her.
All right.
So,
does she like both of these gentlemen?
She
Is
likes
it like
one
romantically or just like...
Yes.
Okay.
So both gentlemen would like to be romantically involved, I guess. But one of them you can definitely tell she has more interest in, or one was meant to be the one she ended up with. This is one of my thoughts on the book is it was just like you knew who was going to be the villain. You knew who was going to be the love interest.
Okay.
So it kind of took away from like the mystery aspect of anything.
So it was predictable.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and because it was pretty predictable, the ending was a little bit disappointing.
Okay.
It was also, I guess, disappointing because it wasn't what I was expecting, or wasn't what I was hoping for. Like as the clues started coming in, I was like, man, I hope it's not what I think it is. Man, I hope it's not this. And I didn't really like the guy who is the villain. I didn't really want him to be the villain. Not because I was like, oh, he's so adorable or whatever. He was just like, he was described as like awkward and weird, and like all of a sudden he was now also evil. But there was literally no red flags throughout the whole book. You just knew he was going to be the villain.
Okay.
Because you knew the other guy was going to be the love interest.
I see. It was by default, basically, or like elimination.
Right. And there was no other suspects. Okay. So unless there would have been like a guy coming out of left field, you knew it was going to be one of the two of them. And, you know, he just seemed like the more like less interesting one.
Okay.
So it was like the author decided to not give him like a personality almost. And then, he's also the villain. But you're like, he didn't really seem evil.
Right.
Like he was just kind of like, I say villain and evil. I shouldn't really say that because I don't know. It was just in the book, they defeated him, but not really.
Okay.
They were just kind of like there. Like, they just watched a scene play out. This is with trying not to give any spoilers, but they basically like watched a scene play out, and at the end they were like, and now we lived happily ever after. And I was like, okay. All right, cool. But yeah, at first I was really excited about the book because it was really interesting and like stuff like that. And like I said, and then like I started getting the weird vibes about where the story was going and the villain, and I thought the book had a lot of potential, but then it just kind of gets boring.
Okay.
And like a unsatisfying ending. Thank you.
Okay.
So
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, it is. I was sad, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of on the fence on this one, between like 3 and 4. The more I
Okay.
talk it out, the closer I get to 3. But
Okay.
then I think about it, and I'm like, well, you listened to the whole thing, and then you read it, and you were fine with it until the
Right.
end. So
Okay.
yeah, right now I'm in between 3 and 4. I'll give
All
it.
right.
I'll give it 1, but not right now.
Okay. Okay, great. All right. So my first one is, I was trying, I got a little distracted because I was looking at the dates that I read it, and I was like, did I read this after Onyx Storm? And I didn't. It was January 18th. So it was right before.
Nice.
It is called She Lies in Wait by, I don't know if it's Gytha or Gytha Lodge. One of those. I listened to it on Audible, and it is a mystery thriller, like police procedural almost.
Okay.
So I did not know that this was part of a series before I listened to it.
Oops.
Yes. So it is book 1 of 5 in the DCI Jonah Sheens series. So DCI is Detective Chief Inspector. Yep. And so I guess the whole series just kind of follows him. I think it's like all police procedurals where it just kind of follows him solving cases. Okay, so this one, She Lies in Wait. In July of 1983, a group of teens go camping in the forest. The youngest of the group is 14-year-old Aurora Jackson, and she is the little sister of one of the other girls that's in the group that's going camping. The evening goes as you think that it would, with a group of teenagers in the forest. There's a lot of drinking and drugs and sex and jealousy and all of the teenage things. Why they would bring a 14-year-old, I have no idea, but they did. However, in the morning, when everybody wakes up, Aurora is nowhere to be found. Everyone says that she was fine before she went to sleep. They all remember her like going into her sleeping bag and like all that. In the morning, her sleeping bag is cold, and there's a massive investigation that's launched, but Aurora is never found. So, well, at that time. Okay. Because now in the book, we jump ahead 30 years. So we're 30 years later, and Aurora's remains are finally found. And they are found in a hideaway, like in this hole, I want to say, not far from the campsite that they were at. And so it's very odd that she was found there, because they did a massive search of this area and all that, but she was just really, really hidden in this spot. And so she was found there, and it is a spot that all of the teenagers knew about. And they know this because there was like drugs hidden in there. So they know that the teens all knew about this location. So DCI Jonah Sheens is put in charge of solving this cold case. And back in 1983, when Aurora went missing, he was a baby cop. He was like newly in the force. And he actually knew all of the teenagers personally, because he was only a couple years older than them. And so he had went to school with some of them and like seen them at parties and stuff like that. So he knew of all of these teenagers, and he even knew Aurora. And during the investigation, not only do all of the secrets of all the teens come out, but also some of Jonah's. So, yes, we find out some things about Mr. Jonah Sheen and all of the teenagers, and all the things. So it's told from a dual timeline and a dual POV. So you jump back and forth between DCI Sheen's point of view now and Aurora's point of view of the night in 1983. So you kind of you jump back and forth, and it jumps back and forth like through. In Aurora's timeline, it goes throughout like when they got to the campsite all the way through the night of like what happened. And so the current timeline is mostly from Jonah Sheen's point of view, but it's like sprinkled in a little bit with like his new recruit Juliet Hansen and one other of his like people that is on his team. You get a little bit of them. So it is a police procedural. You get all of the interviews and like all the investigations. So at some points it's like when he's talking to them now and finding out like what happened that night and like all that kind of stuff, you learn about all the things that they've lied about over the years and who's lying about who and what and like all the things. So everybody kind of starts like telling all the secrets. And then obviously at the end we find out who did it and why. Dun, dun, dun. So I did enjoy it. The writing wasn't bad. The narrator was great. Like everything was fine. The story was intriguing. It just felt like something was missing, and I can't pinpoint exactly what it is. Yeah. Like, So Aurora's point of view, I loved it. Like, it was great. You get all the teen angst and drama and like all the kind of stuff. The teens as adults in the 30-year like jump, they're all just kind of lame. And I don't know if that was like the part that was missing for me or not, but whatever it was, there was just a little bit of like a disconnect, and I feel like it was a disconnect of characters. Like I never really felt bonded or connected to any of them except for Aurora maybe, but everyone was just kind of there, and it just, I don't know. So I did enjoy it. I ended up rating it 3 Jell-O grapes.
Nice.
So it's pretty like middle of the road for me. Just kind of like, it was good. It was enjoyable. I liked it, but still wasn't, it wasn't great.
Right.
So.
Did you say this was book 1? Or
yeah,
did you just say, oh, okay. I was late. Because like,
did I jump in at the wrong?
Yeah, I was like, is it because like there's new people? It was like, it made it sound like there's like, oh, he's introducing a character, you know? So I was like, is this like the 3rd book? So my bad.
No, it's the first one. I think all the other ones are just other cases. Like I don't think any of the other books involve any of the suspects or anything in this particular case. So I think it's just all following DCI Sheen's like solve cases. I'm not totally against reading or listening to any of the other ones because I was intrigued. There's some like a mild cliffhanger with his recruit that he has. Like she has a crazy ex-boyfriend that we don't get fully resolved in this. So I'd be interested to know if like, do we get more of her story later on too? So I might pick it up, but in this one, it was one of those Audible things where you get 2 books for 1 credit, and so I picked it up. And so I don't know if I found the second book in like another deal or something, I would probably get it, but I wouldn't pay full price for it.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Okay, so there's that one. All right. So my second book, it's a little unconventional.
Ooh.
I would say it's basically a 6-hour podcast, but Audible has it categorized as an audiobook, and it counted as a book on Goodreads.
Nice.
So I'm gonna count it as a book, and we're gonna go with it. Yes. And so it's called Evil Has a Name, and it's by Paul Holes, Jim Clemente, and Peter McDonnell. And you're gonna have to let me channel my inner true crime podcast host.
All right.
And tell you about this book. It is The Untold Story of the Golden State Killer Investigation.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So,
I've seen this one.
Okay, so it's true crime. So I'm going to tell you right off the top, if you're not, I don't want to say into true crime, but if you have any reservations about listening to anything true crime, don't listen to this. I am going to give some details about some things. Like I said, I'm going to channel my inner true crime host. I also want to point out a random fact that I used a credit to buy this book in December of 2018.
Oh my gosh.
And I just listened to it.
There?
Yes, it's just been chilling in my list in my library, and I listened to it on January 23rd. Okay.
Can I ask what made you pick it up today?
I have no idea.
Like 5 years later.
I have no idea. I couldn't figure out what to listen to. I was still waiting on my sister to pick our next book club book, and I was sitting in the office all by myself. And I was like scrolling through my library. I didn't want anything that was too long or anything. I don't know. And I was just like, 6 hours. I could do that.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't until, because I was trying to figure out like how did I buy it, or like in my book spreadsheet that I'm trying to keep track of like how much I spend and stuff like that. And so I was like looking through all my stuff to figure out how much did it cost for one, and when did I buy it. And in that search I found that it was 2018.
Oops.
So yay for me.
Do you think that's a record for you?
On Audible, probably.
Okay.
Yes.
But not physical or
no.
Kindle?
I don't even want to know. I don't want to. I'm pretty sure I have books on my Kindle from like 2013 that I haven't read.
Wow. Okay.
Do you know why? Because especially back in 2013 and 14 and stuff, a lot of the stuff I was reading was like very quick fantasy stuff. And so a lot of times they were like free or like 99 cents or something. So I would just see them pop up and be like, yeah, I want that. And so I would just download it or buy it or whatever. And so my Kindle at least account is full of those books from way back when. So we'll see what happens over this year. Maybe I'll dig into some of them. Okay, so this is actually narrated by Paul Holes and Jim Clemente. So it's two of the authors. Paul Holes is a cold case detective, amongst some other things in the criminology world. And Jim Clemente is a retired FBI profiler. Paul Holes worked directly on the Golden State Killer investigation. So that's why I say this is more podcasty. Also, there is no physical book to this. Like you can't buy it. It's just on Audible. So the book is told from the perspective of Detective Paul Holes, who started working the Golden State Killer case in 1994. The last murder in the case was 1986. So by the time he got the case, it was very cold. Like no information, no new information, any of that. And at the time, there were three separate, and I'll tell you what they are, but there were three separate sprees, I guess you could say, that were not all connected to one person. It wasn't until Paul Holes came in and started investigating that they realized that these three things were all connected. It also includes interviews with victims' families, original investigators, the offenders' friends and neighbors and stuff. So it like has there's so much information. Okay, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about the cases, and then I'll tell you like what I felt about it as a whole.
Okay.
So Joseph James D'Angelo was known by many different names. There are 3 separate crime sprees that make up the Golden State Killer. And that name was actually coined by a journalist in 2013.
Okay.
So, and remember, his last murder was in 1986. So a long time later. Yes. So in 1974, he was known as the Visalia Ransacker. So during this spree, he would break into homes and steal items that like of little importance. He never stole anything that was like valuable or anything like that. It was just like random things in the home. And he would, it's not funny, but he would masturbate into women's underwear.
Gross.
In the homes. And in this time as the Visalia Ransacker, it's suspected that he had over 100 break-ins. And
Jesus.
Yes, during this time. So that was 1974. In 1976, he was known as the East Area Rapist. So it was in the East area of Sacramento. He would break into homes at night and tie up his victims. He would rape the women. If there was another person or the man was at home, he would make the woman tie up the man, and then he would tie her up, and then he would put dishes, like a stack of dishes, on the man and basically say, if I hear the dishes move, I'm going to kill her. So that was his way of keeping the man from moving or doing anything during that time.
Okay.
So basically he would do that. It's suspected that during the East Area Rapist time that he completed about 50 rapes and break-ins during this time.
Jeez.
And then his last crime spree that makes this all up is in 1979, he was known as the original Night Stalker. And at this time, he was in Southern California. So he kind of, I don't know if you know California at all, but Visalia is a little bit up, a little bit more north. And then East Area Rapist, he was in Sacramento area. And then as the original Night Stalker, he was more like closer to Los Angeles during that time. So during this time, it was all the same as his previous spree as the East Area Rapist. However, he would end up killing them. So he kind of progressed in his...
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And at this, as the original Night Stalker, it's suspected that there were 13 murders. So in 2001, because of DNA, all 3 sprees were finally connected to one person. So through DNA of all the cases, they were able to understand that each of those whatevers was now this one person. And then, so that was in 2001. And then a journalist about 10 years later or so named him the Golden State Killer. So the whole book discusses like specific cases within each of these sprees. People who like, especially in the beginning, the Visalia Ransacker, some of those women talked. In the East Area Rapist, some of those women and friends of like family members of those women spoke in the in this book. So it was very interesting to hear like their point of view and how they felt when he was caught and like all that kind of stuff. Paul Holes, the detective, explains some of the suspects and why like that were like thoroughly investigated, like why they thought it was them, how they thought it was them, how their timelines matched up. And so it was really interesting to hear some of that, like very specific, like what they did to like rule people out and all that. It was kind of sad to hear because when you're a detective and you're like hearing how his timeline lines up and his like feelings lined up and like all these things lined up, and then the DNA comes back and it's not him. It's like a blow, right? It's like detrimental for you, and like you have to get back into a mental headspace of be like, okay, well, we have to start over and try to find somebody else. Ultimately, D'Angelo ended up being caught because of genealogy. So there is a database that they can put DNA into, and it ultimately goes out, and you have to put your DNA into it. So like if you went out to 23andMe or Ancestry.com or whatever one of those genealogy sites, you could then take that information and put it into this other site. And so what that does is it allows investigators or whoever else to look, and it kind of like compares across everything. And so what they did is they took DNA that they had and they put it into that system, and ultimately found like a genealogical connection that ultimately found out who he was.
Wow. So they found like a relative or something, and wow.
So then they were able to basically family tree it all out and figure out which person made sense to like locations at what times and like all that kind of stuff. So it turned out to be Joseph James D'Angelo, who was a cop in the area at the time. He was a cop in the I can't remember what the actual city name is, but it was up in the like Sacramento kind of area, because that's where it all started. And he ultimately got fired from being a cop for shoplifting. So he ended up being like something else throughout his life. It was early on in his life where he was a cop and then was fired. But so there is a show on Max that I watched quite a few years ago, or like a documentary, and it's called I'll Be Gone in the Dark. And it's actually I believe it's the same journalist who coined the term the Golden State Killer. She was like instrumental in helping in solving this case. Detective Paul Holes really worked closely with her. And I think if you've watched that documentary, there's not a whole lot of new information in Evil Has a Name, but still enough to where I feel like it's like interesting to hear him talk about it specifically just because he worked on the case. And then just like hearing from victims and stuff like that. So I think it's still worthwhile if you've watched I'll Be Gone in the Dark. But yeah, I just wanted to plug that a little bit too.
Okay, cool.
So that's that. So it's hard to rate this because it's true crime and like all of that. So I because of how it's produced and how he tells the stories and like all that kind of stuff, it's 5 stars for me. But I don't know that I will count it in my like at the end of the year all my 5-star books, you know what I mean? So it's not really like, because I don't feel like it can compare to that kind of thing. But in what it is, I would say it's 5 stars or 5 Jell-O grapes.
Nice. There you go.
Yes. So that's all. Told you, unconventional, a little bit different, but there we go.
Nice. No, I liked it. That's cool.
Thanks. Are you ready for our question? Okay. Are you sure?
Yes. Oh, wait. Before you do your question, I have to go back. Was it last week we talked about DNFs?
Sure. It was one of those weeks.
Okay. Last week or the week before? I can't remember. Whatever week we talked about DNFs, I made that comment that my sister said had a year where she didn't DNF any book.
Yes.
And I thought, and I was like, oh man, how did that affect your reading number?
Yeah.
Now remember, last year she had more books read than I did.
Right.
I think like 30-ish.
Okay.
She had 50 books that year.
It really affected her.
Yes. She said she had about 50, maybe a little bit more, but she was like, I will never do it again. It was the hardest thing I ever did. She's like,
Wow.
there were a couple books that I put down because I was like, I'll come back to it and finish it this year. And she said I couldn't bring myself to do it. And she ended up DNFing. I'm air quoting. She ended up DNFing them the next year when she was allowed to DNF again. So even not even true, I guess, I wouldn't say not truly not DNFing a book because she didn't DNF it that year, but yeah, have 50 books because you can't DNF and then go to like 100 the next year. So
yeah, just when you can basically make a quick decision on whether or not you're going to give it more time or not. Wow, that is that's wild. So that's some good data collection there.
Yeah, so I had to share that just because it was interesting enough, but sorry.
No.
Now you can give me a question.
Thank you, Nicole sister. Okay, so it's kind of a easy one this week, I think.
Nice.
Would you rather read one 900-page book or 3 300-page books?
Nice. Was this our question or was this a listener question?
Oh no, we got this in an email.
Yeah. I was gonna say I thought this was one of those.
Yes.
I don't know, something about reading a 900-page book makes me sad. It kind of the same as like, how when you were a kid and you would go on summer vacation and your teacher would be like, actually, you have a book report to do. That's what reading a 900-page book makes me feel like.
Okay.
Being in like 5th grade and knowing I'm going to have to do a book report over the summer.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, but what if it's a really good book though?
I don't know. I can't take that chance.
I know. That's why I'm really leaning towards the 300 books or 300-page books because if it's a 300-page book and I don't like it, I feel like I invested much less of my time. And I mean, obviously you can DNF and like whatever, but I don't know, just like committing to a 900-page book when you don't know how it's going to be.
But what if you can't DNF?
Oh no, then I can't. If I'm in a no DNF rule like your sister, then I will never be picking up a 900-page book.
Yeah, I guess the only thing I would say to the 300 is if it's a series and I can't DNF. Okay. And I read the first one.
No DNF rule come
I don't know. I'm throwing it out there. Okay. But I'm trying to find all angles here.
Okay.
Coming at it at all angles. But if I can't do DNFs and I have to read all 3, and what if it's a series where I read the first one and the first one's garbage?
Okay.
And now I have to read 2 more of the same series.
Okay, but does the DNF apply to a series? Like, if you're saying I can't DNF, does that mean I can't DNF a series or just a book? Because then you just changed everything.
I don't know. What do you think?
I think it only applies to the book. I think if the first book sucks, I'm still allowed to DNF the series because I never started the second book.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. Would you rather read a 900-page book or 3? Yeah, I guess the question doesn't say specifically a 300-page series or whatever.
Right, no.
It just says 3. So if I'm just picking 3 random books, I will pick that any day over a 900-page book.
100% agreed.
Even if I can't DNF.
Yes, agreed. But we're never applying this rule, so it's fine.
Okay, fine.
No, we're never applying this rule. We're not going to do that.
Yeah. I'm same. I cannot. Something, like I said, I'd never want to be in a position where I have to read a 900-page book. I don't even want to be in the position where I have to read a 700-page book.
I can't say that because I literally just read Onyx Storm and Iron Flame
and you know what my last 650-page book was?
Breaking Dawn?
Yes.
But I did split it up for you into 2 300-page books almost. Yeah,
I couldn't DNF them.
Nope. That one you're not allowed.
So, see, this is where it's coming subconsciously. My mind's like, don't do it. Don't put yourself in this trap. It's a trap.
Oh, no.
Oh, man. But, yeah. I don't know. So, I will say, I know there are people out there who like the longer books, like 700, 900, because, like, oh, man, you really get into, like, the story, and there's more meat and potatoes in books like that. And maybe maybe I just haven't found like a good 700 to 900 page book, but I know we've said multiple times in many of I'm not like a huge fan of filler, and I'm not really a huge world building person.
Yeah,
so like,
I think that's exactly what you get out of those books. And so I think you're immediately out. Yeah.
So I mean, I can't think of any different, like, you know, like most 700 to 900 page books are like, you know, history books or sci-fi, fantasy, like high sci-fi fantasy, you know, like where you're really digging deep into like a Tolkien kind of universe. And
yeah. All right, that makes sense why you would lean away from them. Yeah.
Whereas, like, I don't know, something about reading, I feel like I could finish 300 page books faster than I could finish a 900 page book.
You might be right. Yeah. Which is weird, a weird way to like think about it, but it's probably true.
Yeah. So
interesting. I wonder how everyone else feels. I need everyone to tell me, what would you rather?
With no stipulations.
Yes,
just
no
which
stipulations.
Would you rather?
Yes. Okay. Yes, tell us. Go to Instagram. Tell us, Save a Story Pod, and let us know which one you would choose. Also, you know, give us likes and follow us and give us 5 stars everywhere you listen and thumbs ups everywhere you listen. Remember, you can watch video if you are so inclined on YouTube and Spotify. And the end. That's
the
all.
End. We're done.
Yes. Okay, thanks.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Get out of here. I think he just came up and took a snack. You've had 2 dinners.
Yeah, now he needs a snack.
Yes. Mike is the true snack guy on this podcast.
That's right.
Sorry.
We really need him as a correspondent.
Sir, what do you in the field? Tell me what you're doing.
Yes.
This is my second snack, my second dinner.